So this video is going to cover the event/seizure log portion of the app. If we go back to the patient's information, you'll see that there's a section that says, does your pet have seizures or a paroxysmal event? If you select yes, and then we update the pet, it now puts the seizure log at the top because it's going to be something you want immediate access to if you do have a pet that unfortunately has events like seizures. When we open up the seizure log, you'll see that there's a lot of different options. At the top, if you want to record what the seizure looks like, and it'll record it for as long as the event lasts, then you can record it. Since I'm using an emulator, I'm not able to record at the moment on the emulator. But once that video is recorded, it'll save the information, it'll save the duration, you can put in what type of seizure it was there a pre or post-ictal period, recovery, did you give medication, so a lot of different information that can be added. If, say, previously you just happen to open up your phone and record the episode happening, then you could later backtrack and put in when the seizure happened, and you can attach that video to that seizure event. That way, when the event is logged, when you go to your vet and you're trying to show them videos of what the episodes look like, rather than having to scroll through your phone, you could just look back at the seizure log, so it's a little bit easier in some circumstances to have access that way. Another thing that can be done is just to select a timer. Maybe you don't really record every event, so you could just set a timer. It'll record how long the event is happening, and then it'll put that information within the app itself. And again, you can put in additional information if you would like, and then you log the event. Right now, what's popping up is this medical emergency. So because we've put in 2 seizures that have happened within the same day, this is a cluster event, and this is a medical emergency. If you have medications to give at home for a cluster event, then you don't have to see a veterinarian. But if this is a new onset of cluster seizures, then you should absolutely go see a veterinarian, and that's what this is saying here. In the event that your animal does have cluster seizures and you're giving medications for that, earlier in one of the previous videos I mentioned medications that can be given for seizures. So if I select that we gave intranasal midazolam and then we start like a cluster protocol like giving Keppra, so I can select that those 2 are given and added, and now if I go back to the seizure log and to the journal this time, we can scroll down and see that that information has been added to our seizure diary or the seizure journal. Something else that is within the seizure journal is you can see how many seizures the animal has had, and whether this is how many days the patient has had seizures for or how many seizures within the month. And you can change that range too, and you can actually compare different dates as well. Maybe at the first 6 months of the year versus the second 6 months of the year, you want to see how the seizure control is doing. Maybe you've started a new medication, you want to compare how the seizures are doing. There's a graph that just makes it easy for you to compare. The last thing that I'll mention is there's this export button, and that can be accessed either from the log or from the journal. And what this export does is either create a PDF or a Word document. And when this is created, you can save it to the files and then share it with the veterinarian. So I'll save it for now. Then you could email it to the veterinarian. I'll open up the folders here, and right now we can see for Sophie, we've had a total of 2 seizures, and we've logged 2 of those events. So here's the seizures down here, and then, here are the seizures up here, and then the medications that we gave, the date and the time as well. So that all that information is going to be logged there. And then again, you can share that with the veterinarian. So it makes it a little bit easier for some people that prefer using an app versus just importing it into like an Excel sheet or a separate Word document. We usually always have our phones on us, so it's an easy way to keep track of things. But that's going to be it for the seizure log. If you look here, you can select different pets from within the app. So maybe you were doing something else with one of your other pets and you accidentally selected the wrong pet rather than having to go back to the home screen and change it. And because when a seizure is happening, you might want to record it right then or when an episode's happening. So that's why we included the select pet in there as well.